Roman Abramovich's takeover of Chelsea in 2003 was the beginning of a new era at the London club. The Russian arrived with bags of money that went into buying the best players. However, it was only after Jose Mourinho arrived as manager in 2004 that the real shopping spree began. With the likes of Peter Cech and Frank Lampard having arrived before Mourinho, the Portuguese had a spine to build on, and he successfully did it. With the newfound richness and the guidance of the Special One, the Blues dominated English football, winning 2 consecutive Premier League titles and took their seat at the table of Europe's elite football clubs. The first 10 signings for Mourinho proved to be pivotal, even though some were not smart, a real mixed bag. So, who are they, and where are they now? First on the list, Paulo Ferreira. The Portuguese defender became the first signing of the Mourinho era at Stamford Bridge. Mr. Reliable was part of the Porto team that had just won the Champions League, and he completed a £13.2 million move to follow Mourinho to Chelsea, and he remained at the London club until his retirement in 2013. He was not always a starter, but was always ready to step up when the team needed him most and put in a solid performance. He played a key role in Chelsea's first 2 title wins, and in total, he deservedly lifted 3 Premier League titles before he hung up his boots. Chelsea fans will remember that moment that their team needed 2 goals in 8 minutes against Manchester United in the 2010-11 Champions League quarter-final clash, and then manager Carlo Ancelotti decided it was a good idea to throw in Ferreira, who scored just twice in 217 appearances for Chelsea. Good times, huh? Following his retirement, the Portuguese took up a role of club ambassador and was also lone player technical coach before departing Stamford Bridge earlier 2022. In July this year, he was appointed assistant coach of League One club Lille, joining fellow Portuguese Paulo Fonseca's coaching staff. Ricardo Carvajal. You can never talk about the best centre-backs in Premier League history without mentioning Ricardo Carvajal. A £19.85 million signing, Carvalho was another member of Mourinho's Porto side that made the switch to Stamford Bridge in July 2004. He was a constant figure in the Chelsea defense that broke numerous defensive records in his debut campaign in the Premier League. Memorably, playing alongside John Terry, they conceded just 15 goals through the season during the 2004-05 campaign. He, however, ended his 6-year adventure with Chelsea after, in 2010, having won 3 Premier League titles, and opted to follow Mourinho to Real Madrid, where he continued with his impressive displays. He spent 3 seasons at the Spanish capital before heading for some League One adventure with Monaco, playing for 3 seasons as well. He finally hung up his boots following a short stint with Shanghai SIPG. Following his retirement, he worked as assistant manager under former Chelsea boss Andre Villas-Boas at Marseille between 2019 and 2021. He made a return to football coaching in 2023, joining Roberto Martinez as one of the assistant coaches of the Portugal national team. Jiri Jarosik. Jarosik arrived at Chelsea to very little fanfare and left to even less. The former Czech international was signed in January 2015 from CSKA Moscow for just £3 million, and he never quite enjoyed his time at Stamford Bridge. He made just 14 appearances, which were enough to earn him a Premier League winner's medal before he was quickly shipped out to Birmingham City on loan for the 2005-06 season, with his place in midfield taken by Michael Essien. He also featured for Celtic on loan and played for clubs including Sparta Prague and Real Zaragoza before hanging up his boots in 2015. He got into coaching, where he seemed to have found better luck and glory compared to his playing days. He has managed teams in his home country, Czech Republic, Slovenia, and Russia. He is currently without a club, having left Russian side Orenburg in August this year. Aier Del Horno. It never worked for the Spanish left-back at Stamford Bridge. Del Horno joined Chelsea from Athletic Bilbao in June 2005, with much fanfare, but it never quite worked out well and was unsurprisingly sold after just 1 season, having made 25 appearances and scoring once. He joined Valencia before retiring in 2012. Many fans will remember how Messi utterly tormented Del Horno during a Champions League clash in February 2006. The Argentine toyed with Del Horno for the 37 minutes he was on the pitch, before he was shown a red card. Little is known about his current whereabouts, though. Lassana Diarra. Touted as the next Claude Makélélé, Diarra never really lived up to the expectations of the Chelsea fans, leave alone threatening to even break into the first team for the 3 seasons he was at Stamford Bridge. He became a bit part player for the Blues, making 13 Premier League appearances. It was no surprise that fans were so impartial to the midfielder that they didn't even care when he chose to move across London to join rivals Arsenal in 2007. Someone said that if you want to get a clear picture of the Frenchman, imagine what N'Golo Kanté would look like if he was really average at football. Right there, you have a picture of what Diarra looked like. After his time with Arsenal, the Frenchman joined Portsmouth and had stints with Real Madrid, Anzi Makashkala, Lokomotiv Moscow, Marseille Al Jazeera, and Paris Saint-Germain. He was a true journeyman. He retired in 2019 and has since kept a low profile. Mateusz Kezman. Ever heard of the belief that Chelsea have been destroying strikers ever since the Abramovich era began? Well, it all began with Kezman. The Serbian arrived at Stamford Bridge in July 2004 with a £5.3 million deal and was handed the number 9 shirt. Much was expected of the striker following a prolific spell with PSV Eindhoven, but he managed only 4 Premier League goals in his first and only season at Stamford Bridge. He, however, netted the winning goal in the League Cup final to earn Mourinho his first piece of silverware with the club. He was sold the following summer to Atletico Madrid for the exact amount Chelsea bought. No harm done. He retired in 2012 and became a football agent. Thiago. Just like Kezman, Thiago lasted just a year at the Bridge, but unlike Kezman, who struggled for long periods, Thiago was actually good, a reliable performer, and looked to be great value for his €15 million price tag. He finished the season having featured 34 times in the Premier League, despite often being on the bench. An interesting fact, he only lost 1 of the 34 matches he featured in, translating to 2.94% of his appearances, which is the lowest percentage of any player in Premier League history who played more than 20 times. Despite the numbers, though, Chelsea found a perfect midfielder in the name of Essien and shipped Thiago to Lyon. He later played for Juventus and Atletico Madrid as well, before finally retiring in 2017. He got into coaching, enjoying a stint as Atletico Madrid assistant manager in 2017-18, before a short spell as Vitoria Guimarães manager in 2020. He has since been actively involved in several charitable causes and initiatives related to children. Arjen Robben. Before the Robben of Bayern Munich, we had the Robben of Chelsea. Many fans tend to forget that the Dutchman played for Chelsea. It's easy to forget, though, because his time at the Bridge was short but very sweet. Robben was one of the most promising wingers in European football back then, and it was no surprise when Chelsea prized him away from PSV, arriving 12 days before Kezman. He quickly became a fan favorite during his 3 seasons with Chelsea. Together with Damien Duff, they made Chelsea a dangerous team on the wings, and he won 2 Premier League titles during his time in West London, before he was sold to Real Madrid in 2007 for a considerable profit. He enjoyed his time in the Spanish capital, before moving to Germany with Bayern, where he enjoyed even further success, establishing himself as one of the best wingers in Europe, alongside Frank Ribery. He retired for the first time in 2019, but returned to the game to re-sign with his boyhood club Groningen just a year later. He was, however, limited to just 7 appearances due to recurrent injuries before retiring for the second time in 2021. He recently completed coaching internship at Groningen and looks set to get into coaching. Alex Rodrigo Dias da Costa, simply known as Alex, arrived at Stamford Bridge from Brazilian side Santos in 2004. He was, however, sent out on loan to PSV and had to wait another 3 years to make his Chelsea debut. The defender was a free kick expert. His first goal in Chelsea shirt was a 30-yard free kick against Middlesbrough in October 2007. But if there was a debate about his best goal in a Chelsea shirt, it would be between the 2 screamers, one against Liverpool in 2009 and that against Arsenal in 2010. Boy, the Brazilian had a rocket launcher as right foot. He helped Chelsea win the Premier League title in 2009-10 before leaving in January 2012. He enjoyed spells at AC Milan and PSG, before finally announcing his retirement in 2016. And for all those who don't remember, he is the man who forced Carvalho out of Chelsea. Didier Drogba. We all know Mourinho was famous for his press conferences and humorous comments and quotes. One of them was directed to club owner Abramovich. When the Portuguese arrived at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea needed to bring in a striker, and Mourinho was adamant that he only wanted to work with Drogba and no one else. He famously told Abramovich to shut up and fund the deal without asking questions. The Russian gladly obliged and forked out £24 million to bring the Ivorian to the Bridge from French side Marseille. And boy, what a deal. Drogba went on to become one of the Premier League's most dominant and greatest strikers ever, scoring 164 goals for Chelsea in all competitions and leading the Blues to 3 Premier League titles and that famous 2012 Champions League glory, where he almost single-handedly gave them the crown, Abramovich's holy grail. He left following the Champions League glory, but returned in 2014 to reunite with Mourinho again and won 4th Premier League winners' medal. He ended his playing career in the U.S. with Montreal Impact and Phoenix Rising before retiring in 2018. He remains part of the ownership of the Phoenix Rising. The term legend doesn't do him justice. We can all agree that the players Mourinho brought in helped push the Blues to another level, a new level of success, and they kind of set the right pace for Chelsea to succeed and remain one of Europe's elite, a status they hold to date.